This is hard. This is very hard. Intros are the hardest. Ring ding dong. Ring a ding 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 dong. Hello. Welcome back to Review. Thanks so much for joining me. And if you're new here, consider subscribing to my channel. And ring a ding 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 ding, that notification bell, so you can be notified every time I upload. Alright guys, I'm starting one of my favorite ideas for episodes since I started my channel, and that is Single Shadow Saturday. And that's going to be every Saturday. I'd like to put out a video for single eyeshadow tutorials. I'm going to feature this eyeshadow tutorial for you guys. If you guys like this, first subscribe, second ring notification bell, and also like this video. Okay, so if you guys like this look and you want to learn how to get it, then just stick around. So I will start by priming my eyelids with the MAC Painterly Paint Pot and just use the Real Techniques. It does not have a name. I will be using this Real Techniques brush and just going in and priming the eyelids. I feel like this should be closer, just like that. Brilliant. All right. Tap in the excess and it'll just help wipe away any excess, plus kind of pat in the product that you've got on the lid already. Alright guys, you've seen it in the title. We will be doing nothing but single eyeshadows, and I'm going to try to use as wide of a variety of eyeshadows as I possibly have. So I hope you guys stick with me and find a couple shadows that you like. And in the future, when I do single shadow eye look tutorials, I am not really going to be focusing so much on the brand or the name of the shadow as much as I'm going to be focusing on describing the shadow to you so that you can go back to your collection and shop your stash and find... Why is my eye watering? Ugh, was I even in focus? Ugh. Okay, I will be focusing more on describing the shade that I'm using, and hopefully that will help you to shop your stash, and then you can kind of find what fits to create the look. I think I kind of want to start with an oldie but goodie that I have in my collection, and this is by LA Colors. So let me show you. I somehow lost the lid to it, but it is the LA Colors matte eyeshadow, and I picked these up at the Dollar General. You know, really fancy stuff here, guys. And I wanted to give them a try, so I went ahead and picked them up, and I actually really like this. This is in the shade French Vanilla. I don't believe they sell any more of these. These were on clearance, and I haven't seen them since. So if you guys aren't able to get a hold of any of these types of shadows, you might check out Wet n Wild. They have one in their shade name is Brulee, and it's pretty much comparable to this one. This will work. The Morphe 213. I'm gonna slip some of this eyeshadow, tap off the excess, and slip some of this underneath my brow bone just to kind of start off the look. This isn't really the brush that I was intending to use, but you know, it's like whatever. Here we are at like 10 o'clock at night filming, because I'm still learning so much about cameras. I don't know why they did away with these, but anyways, they did. So the first color that I want to start out with for my transition shade is this color right here, and it's kind of a medium saturation, and it's just a great mid-tone color that I'm going to go ahead and slip into the crease of my eye, and this happens to be the Makeup Geek Shadow in Hayride. This is their original formula that they started out with before they launched their rebrand. So I will be using a Jessup blending brush 224 and picking up some of that, tap off the excess, and then just run that into my crease and add some depth to the eyes. And I will be also bringing it up kind of high because it's not very deep and dark in transition or saturation. It's pretty light. Another great option if you don't want to pick up any of these single shadows and do you know, invest in some of these matte shadows, would be to use your bronzer and then also to use a powder foundation that you might have. Any powder foundation you can put underneath the brow bone, specifically one that's a little bit lighter than your skin tone. If you have any of those powders, you know, laying in your stash somewhere, you could use them, and then you can always put your bronzer in here as well. This is more of a neutral color, so this is gonna, it's not gonna warm up the crease like a bronzer would necessarily, with those warm undertones and hues, but it will definitely still get the job done and still work the same. So next up, I found this beautiful shade right here. It's just a little bit deeper in saturation, and it's got some warmth to this one's, well, maybe it's on the neutral side still. So with a Smith .230, with the Smith 230, I'm going to dip into the shadow Conundrum by ColourPop and further deepen this crease up just a bit. Starting at the outer edge, I will work my way towards this inner portion, but I really want to focus on the outer corner first. I feel like that's really what accentuates my eyes the best. And I'll bring it down on the lash line as well and just kind of round it out on this corner. I'm not going to go much for a elongated cat eye look. I'll stick with just a natural neutral. It's going to be a little more drama than everyday. I don't think most people would choose this as an everyday look, but for this last depth dimension that I want to add, going in with my Smith 235, because I don't know where my 247 went. She went on vacation. I'm going to dip into the shade Aphrodite by Makeup Geek. And this is a plummy aubergine burgundy shade. So shop your stash, find a color that looks similar to this, and apply it to that outer corner, and just really feather in some depth, if you will, just grounding the look, because you see that I've got all this, you know, blank canvas here, and then I've got no depth really on this portion of my eye. So just sweeping it, starting right up here on the lash line. This is just where I tend to start. I'm going to work it in and around. And then when I don't have as much product left on my brush, I'm going to sweep it upwards. That was just one dip. You can then go in and re-intensify that one last time. Let's do that right now. Again, adding right there to that base of that lash line is where I want most of my depth. Excuse me, most of my depth, and then feathering up and outward to just really diffuse that shade. Then when I've got hardly anything on my brush, I'll just work it back in to the crease on the inner portion of my eye. Just right there. Tap off any excess off your brush with a shade this saturated with color and this saturated with pigment. If you have your base done like I do, you could subject yourself to what is known as fallout, and that's just the pigment dropping down right up in here, and it's definitely not a good look. It's never been in that I know of or I'm aware of, so you'll end up having to brush it away, and sometimes that can be kind of difficult. So just tap off the excess, and pretty much you're not going to have too much of a problem. And also if you've got a really good quality brush. I have an obsession with brushes. I have an unhealthy obsession with brushes. So I like to use the best of the best, and so I don't really ever face the fallout issue, so I sometimes do my face makeup first, and sometimes I do my base makeup afterwards. For me, it's more in the brushes that will tell me whether or not I'm going to get my fallout. So, okay, again, towards the end here, feather it in ever so gently. And then just checking to make sure. So going back in with this Smith 232, I'm going to buff and blend around the edges of my shadow to diffuse any harsh lines. Also remember, we did lay that base shadow, that French Vanilla shade from LA Colors. So that can also kind of marry into this darker shade right in here. Now backing up out of there, I just want to use about 2 shades on this lower lash line. I still want to keep this simple. I still want to keep this something that everybody can recreate. So just backing up 2 steps. Remember, we had that plummy aubergine shade that we focused on the outer V of our eye. Now we go back in with the color that the second color that we put on the crease, and we're going to take that and run that on the lower lash line. So for that, you can't see this, but I've got a mirror right here, and I'm holding it out in front of me, and I'm looking up into it such that I can now just add some of this shadow really easily. See that? All those wrinkles and crinkles and fine lines just opened right up for me to paint them with my brush and my shadow. I am smoking this out just a little bit more than the average Sally, but I feel like it's kind of matching up with the depth that I have up here. So I really like that. Okay. And that is it. This is the completed look. So with some lashes, I just threw on the Kiss Blowout lashes, and they're in Page Boy. And everything that I used on my eyes is going to be linked down below in the description box for you guys, so you guys can just head on down there and check it all out. Like I said, in the future, I'm going to be more focusing on the shadows that you need to be using as far as to get this look, what saturation, whether it's a mid-tone, whether it's a contour shade, transition shade, those kinds of things, because I want you guys to focus more on shopping your stash, using what you've got, and kind of doing your own shade matching from there. Oh yeah, and I threw on this lip. It is the Urban Decay Vice Liquid Lipstick in the shade Trivial. So that's also going to be linked down in the description box for you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you stayed this far, I hope you'll choose to subscribe and ring a ding 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 ding, that notification bell, so that way every time that I upload, you guys will get that message. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching, and I hope you check out all my social media platforms, and I can't wait to see you in my next one.